hello.
Hi, Andre. What's happening?
A lot is happening. I'm excited that it is Christmas time. I love Christmas almost as much as I love Halloween. No, scratch that. I love it more than Halloween. Forever. I wish it would be Christmas every day. Um, um, which
Gross.
I know. I know you don't stand. So, how are you?
I'm good. It's pouring rain. It's been raining for it feels like probably a week, which is too long for me. But I'm getting into the season, sort of. I'm decorating. I'm making some Christmas trees. I'm doing it. I'm not fully engaged with it, but I'm doing it because it gives me an opportunity to be Martha Stewart. And what else is there?
I love that. I think that if you're ever having a hard time engaging with the season, you just have to combine the season with something that you already like. So why don't you try some Christmas witchcraft?
Alcohol? What?
I mean, that too. Christmas witchcraft while drunk. Just try that, and all of a sudden
Oh,
you'll be
yeah.
very jolly, very merry.
I mean, Christmas was a pagan holiday about sacrificing to the gods, so it's not that big of a stretch that there's something spooky or magical going on here. But luckily, we're not talking about that today.
It's not. It's not. Look deep enough. I'm sure you'll find something. Bitch, Krampus is a thing. So obviously, by the way, like every other podcast in fucking town is doing an episode on Krampus. No shade, no tea. Well, no shade, all tea. But I love you, fellow podcasters. But anyway, we're not talking about Krampus. Fuck that. We're talking about fucking ghosts.
Damn
Merry
right,
Christmas.
because hey, Christmas Carol is kind of about ghosts. There's some sort of ghostly thing happening there. Also, is there some rule where you have to talk about Krampus? Because I don't give a fuck about Krampus. Okay, if someone's gonna take me, it's gonna be a fucking gray alien. And
I mean,
I'm gonna
apparently, apparently there is because everyone is doing it. So I was like, did I miss the memo? Hello.
You're supposed to be in
listen.
charge of the memos.
Let's do a quick Krampus episode. He is scary, but also, who cares? It's not real. I mean, but like Loki, what else that we talk about is, and the movie was kind of shit. That's it.
The only thing that we talk about that is real is how much we love all of you.
Nah, that was too wholesome. What did you do with my friend Shannon? Where is she? Did you eat her?
She's fucking dead. She is dead. She is done with the Christmas season. She is done with the holidays. She wants nothing to do with it. Bye-bye.
Oh my god, is this like Taylor Swift's oh my god, what's that fucking song called?
Look what you made me
Look
do.
at what you made me do. Is that what it's called? Look at what you made me do.
It's look what you made me to do. And I hate that I know that.
Oh yes, it's look what you made me do. I was about to say, is it? I know what you did last summer.
Oh.
No, that's an
stand that
iconic movie with our queen Jennifer Love Hewitt. That is not the Taylor Swift song. Anyway, it sounded
the
like that.
fuck
You were
up.
like,
You did not just
Oh.
diss Sarah Michelle Gellar like that.
I did not diss anyone. I just said Jennifer Love Hewitt is a queen. That doesn't
Yeah,
mean there can't
no.
be two queens.
No. Jennifer Love Hewitt can suck my dick. Okay, I don't hate Jennifer. It's just if Sarah's there, you look at Sarah, okay? Sarah. Okay?
Do you? Ooh,
Bye.
okay. Are you one of those people that thinks that like when she came along, she kind of started stealing some of Sarah's like spotlight that would have otherwise been hers? Because I've heard that before. That it was like the Britney and Christina of the acting world.
Well, let's be real here. Everyone remembers Buffy. No one remembers Ghost Whisperer. So,
Wow. Okay. Shade much, but I knew what I was gonna say is that you basically told us that old Shannon can come to the phone because she's dead. So iconic. Thank
So,
you.
yeah, who am I? I don't know.
I guess I'll see her in the afterlife. I mean, you're probably the doppelganger, but you sound and look the same, I suppose. So it's all right. You still work as a great co-host. Let's do this.
Hey, so what are we doing today?
I have no fucking idea. Because you are like low-key, high-key leading this episode. You kind of like, I think you're gonna throw me into a rabbit hole and just have me explore it with you. But you're
Yeah.
taking the reins, so you tell me.
Well, see, I kind of want this to be like a journey that we take together. Kind of like I'm going to take your hand and we're going to enter the anus of a big monster. And while we're in there, we're going to poke
okay.
around. We're going to see what's happening,
Okay.
See what comes out. Because I remember reading this book a while ago and I remember pitching this idea to you. And I think you can vouch that I was pretty hype. So I took another look at it because I knew I wanted to do this episode, and there is so much to this, Andre. Like, there's so much. And
Okay.
yeah, and
I'm excited. I'm ready to enter the asshole. I'm gonna get like full body body lubed up, just so we can get
Perfect.
inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just keep an open mind. Try and be aware that this could all mean so many things, and that's kind of why I want to talk about it. So I don't want you to just limit yourself to just ghosts. So yeah, without further ado, I would like to talk about a California-born, I guess you would call him a ghost hunter. I don't want to say hunting because that sounds a little Ghostbusters. Like, he's not going around killing ghosts, but he's some kind of paranormal investigator. We're going to say that. And
Okay.
this is one of those books that I found in that really awesome, creepy little used bookstore in my town. That was just like there, and I was like, wow. This book was published in 1986, so this book is actually older than me. Not to date me or anything.
Shannon is 13, if you guys can tell.
Yeah, I'm 13. Follow me on TikTok. Is that what the kids do these days?
That's actually pretty funny. I like that. Follow me on TikTok.
So this paranormal investigator, his name is Richard Sennett. He's an author, he's a chill dude. He was teaching about ghosts and, the paranormal. He was born in LA, the son of an artist and decorator named Leonard Sennett, who worked for MGM Studios. They moved to Ventura, California, and, he has a book called, what's it called? Weird Ventura. So this is obviously something he's been rooted in for a while, like the strange, the paranormal. He went to Long Beach State University, has a degree in history, did post-grad work at UC Santa Barbara, and did archaeological field school, which he did that at a mission, San Antonio de Padua, which is interesting because he also explores ghosts in California missions. Which, yeah,
I love California missions, so I'm already invested.
That's so funny. So he has about 23 books on the subject of ghosts and folklore and local history and mystery fiction. He's appeared in a ton of TV shows over the years. Ghost Adventures being one, another called Sightings. I'm literally just reading his bio because this guy. Yeah.
Okay, so what does he think that ghosts are? Bigfoot?
No, see, we're not going to be bringing in Missing 411 in this just because it's our most listened to episode. We don't stand today.
We're really trying to get those coins, really trying to get those streams. So Missing 411, like, honey, whenever you want it, we're giving it to you, audience. Okay, just ask for more. Go ahead.
Oh my god. No, he doesn't think it's Bigfoot, although I will kind of touch on Bigfoot a little bit later because why the fuck not? So he is married to a psychic. Her name is Debbie, and they reside in Ventura, and he still contributes to a lot of publications and teaches history, and so he's a pretty cool, chill dude. I'm touching on his book, Ghosts of the Haunted Coast, which is about California's coast, obviously, which was published in 1986. And these are like first-hand accounts of his investigations as he was kind of touring California, especially the coastline in this particular book. And I'm not sure how old he was at this point, but he had already been doing this type of work for a while. So without further ado, I would like to kind of just read/share. I think I have like 5 good, and there's a ton. There's probably like 20 in this book, but I chose like the best 5 that I want to talk about.
Well,
yeah,
spook me, and when you do read stuff, like, I want your best, like, spooky radio host voice.
Oh my god, I don't know if I can do that. So, so just remember, keep an open mind. So,
Okay.
The first one I want to talk about, I've never heard of before until this book, which is kind of crazy because this was published in the 80s, and it's like, who's been hiding this mysterious beast from me? So this is called the Charman. So, in Ojai, California, on Creek Road, there is sightings of something called the Charman, and it's assumed that he is a ghost. So he's your typical spook that haunts a highway. Well, I guess it's not really a highway; it's just a road. But you're driving along at night, and then suddenly, there it is. So he's the one of the best known ghosts of Ventura County. Everyone seemed to know about it. So who is he? He is apparently the ghost of a man who was horribly disfigured by flames in some way. A lot of people perpetuate the idea that it was from a great forest fire in 1948. They said that he was a firefighter who was caught in the fire when the wind changed, sending a wall of fire over him. He ran into the forest and his body was never found. Given how many fires are in California, that's really traumatizing. I feel like that could probably be true. So his body was never found, so that's kind of the idea of, like, he was never given a proper burial, so now he just wanders Ojai at night on these roads. This guy at the Ventura County Historical Museum, Charlie Seaman, he was the curator there. He actually debunked this theory, supposedly. He debunked the 1948 fire theory because there were no records that show that anyone died in that fire. This isn't to say that it's not entirely true, because maybe he just wasn't a firefighter, maybe he was a transient or someone who no one would know to miss, so there wouldn't be a record. They didn't find a body. I don't know. Another story for his origin is that it was a man who got into an automobile accident along the road, and obviously the car blew up in flames. He was badly burned, so he ran into the woods and died. But apparently a lot of people in Ojai have seen him. So the one thing that all of the witnesses seem to be able to convey with certainty is that his flesh is peeling from his burned skull, and charred rags are all that remained of his garments. And when he's near you, there's a sickening smell that accompanies him, like burned flesh. He lunges out of the darkness, and he is apparently going to attack you. I don't know, because, like, has anyone been attacked by the Charman? I don't want to be attacked by the Charman. So this kind of ghost, he is what Richard Sennett kind of identifies as what you would call a lover's lane ghost, because teenagers are mainly the witnesses who go out looking for him, like on long drives, or they're in their car making out and they're like, oh my god, I saw the Charman. So yeah, and it's a creepy road. Actually in the 1950s, there was a few newspaper stories that were published about an alleged attack on a young man by the Charman. The teenager's jacket was torn by the figure, and this article, or these articles, they caused a lot of people to go to the road, and it caused a big traffic jam and pissed off the police a lot. He's been seen other places, at a bridge. This is where actually Richard stopped. He stopped on the bridge, and he tried to see if he could find anything, but he didn't, which I think is an unfortunate situation with a lot of these paranormal investigations. Oftentimes you find yourself very disappointed. Not that I'm throwing shade. I'm not. I just,
Yeah. Yeah.
So Creek Road is also supposedly haunted by other phantoms. To kind of give a few, people have encountered the specter of a ghostly horsewoman riding at a full gallop along the road in the moonlight. And so when I say horsewoman, she's literally just riding a horse. It's not a horse woman. So I guess the horse gets spooked by a snake, and then she was killed by the fall from the horse. And it happens once a year on the anniversary of her death. I don't know about that one. I don't find that very fascinating. Another one is a ghostly lady in a wedding dress who's believed to hitchhike along the road. Anyone who knows the very, very common story of a woman in white, that's, not anything new. I don't know if those are real, but basically a woman in white is a ghost that was killed, by a scorned lover or whatever, and she tries to hitchhike, and if you let her in, she kills you or takes your soul or whatever.
Do you ever
That's
wonder what
one.
like creepy women ghosts are always in white? Like, why aren't they in some ugly ass color like neon green?
Why aren't they wearing like those Forever 21, like I just want tacos t-shirts, you know what I mean?
I know, that would terrify me. I'd be like, "Fuck!"
It's a ghost from 2012. Shit. She has an iPhone 4.
Get the fuck out! Shush!
So, most recently, there's been sightings, and when I say recently, 86. So in 86, there has been sightings of a headless motorcyclist riding, I guess, an Indian bike. That was kind of the main attraction of Ojai, was the Charman. People would talk about that. And Senate never found anything on that, and that's definitely the most benign kind of warm-up story I wanted for you, because there's not... I think that is probably a ghost. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
kind of as we move...
I mean, are
Yes,
some of the
I
other
want
ones
your
you're gonna
opinion.
talk about not ghosts?
That's the thing. I wanted to kind of touch on stuff that was out of the ordinary. So, yeah, I
okay.
think that labeling these things as the best we can, that's kind of the discussion I want to have. Because, yeah, I do think that these are within the realm of something else. But that was kind of our
Alright.
warm-up. What did you think?
I was just thinking about the man. Like, that's really sad to have a death like that. Like when you said, like, oh, he was probably deeply disfigured by fire and died. I was like, that's probably the worst way to go. And if ghosts are, like, if we are to believe that ghosts are what a lot of people say they are, which is, kind of souls that can't let go or have unfinished business or had really traumatic deaths, then that makes total sense, and I would agree it is a ghost. Which then brings me to the thought of, like, how long do ghosts have to stay ghosts? Like, is it like Ghost Whisper? Like, do they have to find someone that can help them cross or finish something so they can cross? Like how long does that, you know what I mean? Like, it seems that, like, for ghosts the world is basically purgatory. So how do we
Yeah.
end their purgatory and send them away from earth into whatever the next realm is? I don't know.
Well, like we've talked a lot about how, like, energy can't be destroyed, it has to go somewhere. And some
Uh-huh.
ghosts or, like, hauntings, they manage to stop somehow. And it's like, well, they probably didn't just disappear, so it's like, where did they go? I wonder, like, they have to go somewhere. Maybe, I don't want to be too dark, but hitchhiking to, or, latching on to a person,
I mean,
becoming
that is
something else.
possible. I haven't heard of that a lot. I feel like throughout the millennia, like, if that was a thing, like someone feeling like they got latched on following a blessing of a home, for example. Oh, like the ghost went home with me instead. Like, I feel like we would heard a lot of those stories just in general or
Yeah.
in media or in the general zeitgeist, but I don't really hear that. So I don't think they disappear either. You're right. I don't think the energy just dissipates. Like, it has to go somewhere. But I do think it goes. I just don't know where it goes.
Maybe it just calms down, Maybe it wears itself down. Because you can only do so much for so long. Maybe it's exhausting to, like, be a ghost.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think so. I think that, like, when you're a ghost, you kind of stop having perception of time, and you don't really get tired. Like, you're just a spirit. But, like, even then, maybe you're not even a spirit. Maybe you're like a mirror of a spirit. Like, you're kind of like a copy of a copy, like a very distant copy of you when you were alive. And also, a lot of these ghosts seem to be contained within specific spaces and also within specific time loops, right? Because, like, ghosts don't age. So I feel like they could just repeat what they're doing for 1,000 years and just stay there and not get tired and just do that all the time. That seems like a miserable existence. I mean, if you technically they don't exist, but, like, because they're not alive, but it's still, like, I'm sure they feel something, and to just live, well, quote unquote,
Maybe
live forever like that sucks.
Maybe that's like what you said. Maybe it's not existence. Maybe a ghost isn't sentient at all. It's just, the echo of that pain. Just, it's so strong that it can't go away.
I mean, if so, then I don't feel bad. But if it is more like, oh, it's not an echo, it's more like a clone of you, but it's not actually you and you're resting, okay, well, that's great for you. But if if that quote unquote like ghost clone of you when you were alive has sentience, then I feel bad because like they're suffering forever.
Well, you could also just like not feel bad at all because like fuck them. Go to a Mariah Carey concert. Don't worry about the ghosts. Is that heartless?
Fuck. A little bit. Again, if they do have sentience, like if they're nothing more than the physical manifestation of like the equivalent of an audio recording, then I don't care because they're just that. They're just a mirror, a recording, like a spiritual recording. But if it's something with sentience, that's kind of fucked.
Yeah.
And God forbid that it's not actually your actual soul, because if you become a ghost, you're gonna regret what you said, Shannon.
Life is for the living, death is for the ghost. I'll worry about it when I'm dead. I want you to play that at my funeral. I want that to be the final thing everyone hears as they lower my dead body into the ground. Actually, no, sorry. I want to be cremated. It's on record now.
Okay, well, as you're being cremated, like your family will be there, and I guess I'll be there since we're just assuming that I'm gonna outlive you, and I'll tell them like, oh, Shannon said, life is for the living and death is for the ghosts, and she wants everyone to enjoy their life. Go see Mariah Carey in concert. Don't worry about this old bitch. She's ashes now. So.
This old bitch. You don't know when I'm gonna die. Do I just have old bitch energy?
Yeah, that's why it doesn't matter if you die tomorrow. Like you already have old bitch energy, so you're already an old bitch.
That explains a lot. So are you ready? I actually want to give you a short one. I just thought it was really weird, and I think that we can have maybe a good conversation about it. I don't know. We'll see. So this happened in Westlake, California. So this is in 1980. And a friend actually told Richard this. So a friend of this friend was near the Westlake on-ramp to 101 freeway. If anyone's unfamiliar with California, 101 is this old highway that stretches literally along the coast. Like, it's such a beautiful drive. Oh my god, iconic. So this friend saw an old man hitchhiking. So she never picks up hitchhikers, but for some reason she felt compelled to pick this one up. So she did. It was an old man who seemed confused, disoriented. She pulled back onto the freeway with him, and for some strange reason, this motherfucker screamed, "Christ is coming! Christ is coming!" Twice. Just like that. She looked at him back at the road, and then she looked again, and he was gone. He had vanished from the vehicle. She pulled over onto the side of the highway. Yeah. She pulled over onto the side of the highway, and eventually a policeman pulled over to ask what was going on. And she told him the story of what had just happened. And he was like, "You're the fourth person this has happened to today." So
I love that because like in movies and everywhere, like figures of authority like policemen or like firemen or doctors, like they never believe that shit, but I bet you that cop was thinking to himself like, fuck, ghosts are real.
Or something. Apparently the same tale has been reported in other states. So apparently this happened in Arkansas by several reliable witnesses. They said the exact same thing. Christ is coming. Christ is coming. And that's basically the story. It's like, what the fuck is this? What is this?
Is that God's way of letting us know he's coming? Because that's very ineffective. Like, I don't think maybe he doesn't realize that it's not 2,000 years ago anymore, and we have cell phones and internet now. He could just like post a video saying, "I'm coming back," and it would just like be spread around the world on Twitter in a minute.
Instagram
Everyone
story.
would get the memo. Instead of sending like messengers to hitchhike in people's cars one by one, that's gonna take forever.
Well, here's the theory that Sennett put out. He theorized that it is a traveling minister who had probably died a weird death or had gone a little bit crazy. So it's like a hitchhiking minister who just spooks the hell out of you. I thought that was hella weird in my mind. I don't know about the boundaries that ghosts have to uphold. Like, can they cross state lines? Or was it like a weird cult of old men and they all just happen to be in different places? You know, like the Mormons on their bikes. I know that sounds really offensive, but they're everywhere. So like, you know, separate ghosts being separate people, but they all share the same general message. I don't know.
That's really weird. I mean, I was thinking like, oh, you don't hear a lot about ghosts really moving from their original place of ghosting, but like, don't like those Japanese water ghosts. There's like a specific word for ghosts that are basically people who drown. Think of like the girl from The Grudge. Like, can't those ghosts like move? Like, can well, at least the movie shows it that way. Like, they can be in different places. Like, they can haunt you at the house. They can haunt you at the hospital. Like,
I see what you're saying.
so maybe some ghosts can.
Yeah, that's a little out of my wheelhouse. I'm not really familiar with Japanese ghosts, except for The Grudge. Sarah Michelle Gellar, iconic. Did you know they're remaking that?
They are remaking that with a guy, and I don't know how I feel about that.
Can they just like stop? Can they stop?
I mean, yeah, also the fact that they're remaking it at all, it's like, just leave it. Like, these movies, well, the first two, not the third one, they're good, especially the first one. Just leave him. Just let him be. Just let him be.
Okay, well, are you ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Were you done with your rant?
I'm not, I'm just like sitting here, just kind of like letting the fume out. Just, whatever.
Okay. So, this one is definitely not a ghost. Actually, no. Scratch that. I don't want to say anything for certain, but I think that you'll understand what I'm talking about as we get into it. So this one is Aliso Canyon, north of Santa Paula. I actually don't know where this is. I probably should have figured that out, but I have no idea where Santa Paula is. Anyone from Santa Paula, let me know. So Richard met with someone who had contacted him about this type of sighting. You'll understand why I don't want to say what it's called just yet. I don't want to lose listeners. She was mid-20s, professional woman. He refers to her as Miss J to help her remain anonymous. He met her in a cafe, and they kind of have a discussion like, hey, do you believe in ghosts? And he's like, hell yeah, I believe in ghosts. And so they agree to go and see if they can find whatever this thing is. So they get into his car, and they drive up to Aliso Canyon, and they are going to Billowhack Dairy. What is it called? It's like a dairy factory, mill, whatever. So it's abandoned, and it was built in 1925 by a man named August Rubel. He wanted to like make dairy gaining, I don't know, how do you harvest dairy? He wanted to make that more efficient. And then after the stock market crash in 1929, the fucking dairy plant or whatever went down, and it was abandoned in 1943. And it's actually weird because August himself vanished on some sort of secret army mission in North Africa in the same year the factory was abandoned. And it was never explained where he went or what had happened. But the Billowhack area, it has been, obviously, supposedly haunted by this creature. What is the creature called? The Billowhack Monster. Beautiful. So, this monster supposedly lives in the hills around the dairy and wanders the ruins at night. It is described as being a huge creature with powerful muscles. Its body is covered in gray or off-white hair. Its fingers are tipped with long talons, and the monster's face resembles a goat or a ram with horns on its head. It's been described as a great hairy man, and that's kind of why I wanted to mention Bigfoot, because who else is described as a great hairy man?
Interesting.
So the majority of sightings of the Billowhack monster have been made by teenagers who were out, trespassing on this abandoned dairy mill. And so that's why I guess Miss J was uncomfortable sharing her story. She didn't think people would believe her because she was so young when it happened. So her story, she says, "We drove up here. There were 5 of us that night. We had some beer, but we were not drunk. We had been up by the old dairy and were driving along this road. Near the end of the road, she said, like, stop here, and they got out of the car. And, okay, so she points to a fence. This is near, like, overgrown weeds. It's, like, close to the dairy mill. And she says, I saw the monster there. We were driving down this road. My headlights flashed onto it. It had eyes like a cat's shining in the headlights. It just stood there with a head like a sheep and a body like a man. Its hair was coarse and matted. It was there maybe 20 seconds and then it took off running. It ran away on 2 legs like a man. I was so scared I didn't know what to think. I guess everyone she was with thought it was just a joke, but she thought it was real. She, when asked what color the eyes were, she said greenish yellow. And they're out here, at night, and Senate reports feeling as though they're being watched, but, this is his book, so he could feel whatever he wants. So they go to the car, and they basically, get back in because they start to hear rustling, and this is literally real time happening now. They get in, lock the doors, and what is it? A large possum crosses the road. So, I thought that description of the Billowhack monster was really interesting when I first read it because, as you all know, annoyingly, I took a witchcraft class in college on the history of witchcraft, and that description is basically the description of the devil. Not saying the devil is in Santa Paula or anything, but it could just be some weird cryptid. But you always hear, I guess I always hear that image.
It definitely wasn't a large possum. The fact that the thing had a goat head is very suspicious. I'm getting some satanic vibes for sure. So, and I can't imagine how traumatic that must be for that woman to see that and be like, holy shit, that I actually just see that. And I always try to picture myself in those situations and how I would react, and I feel I just freak out because fuck, I wouldn't believe it's real. Anyway.
Well, also seeing that and then watching it walk away on 2 legs at the height of a man.
I know, I pictured that in my head when you were saying that, and that was spooky. Ugh.
Yeah. No, there's this great podcast. I'm just throwing a plug here for anyone. I'm sure people have probably already heard it if they're into our podcast. It's called The Black Tapes.
It's called Scary Talk? Oh, okay.
No. It's called The Black Tapes. It's a fiction podcast. It's actually already done. I think it ended a few years ago. But there was this image of that creature, a goat-headed man with hooved feet standing at the edge of a person's bed. And it was the devil or whatever, and that always terrified me. I was like, oh my god, can you imagine seeing that at the edge of your bed? Wow.
Well, I found the second story pretty spooky. I don't think it was Bigfoot at all. That goat head fucks with me, so I don't know what to tell you, but it was no cryptid I've heard of.
Are you just kind of fuck that shit, kind of, You're not really,
I'm
you
very
don't have a strong opinion on it.
I mean, I have a strong opinion that it's not Bigfoot. I'm just kind of so noped out. I'm nope. Because I would hate seeing that. I just, ugh. So, yeah. I don't even want to think what it could be.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's probably a devil or a demon that sucks blood of cats or something. But whatever. That's fine. We don't have to talk about it.
I mean, wait, in that vein, do you think the chupacabra is a demon?
Good question. Maybe it's a hellhound or something. Because I don't know.
Do those things? I always get so confused. Do you actually think that demons exist, in physical form? Because what we see a lot, especially when it comes to say exorcisms, is that they are they're spiritual, not in the sense that they're spirits, but in the sense that like they don't have a physical body. They're like spiritual entities. And so I like when you say like a demon or like a devil hound, I'm like, why would those have physical entities also,
Well,
like physical bodies?
I think that the issue here is that we're coming from different perspectives where I don't believe any of it's real. You're kind of more open to the possibility, whereas for me, my understanding of this is from pop culture. So for me, like I'm a Buffy stan and the demons are always like they're real and they look different, you know? Whereas
Uh-huh.
a supernatural stan would be like, oh no, they just possess you and it's all very spiritual and it's like, but I don't subscribe to that for a number of reasons. I guess one being I find exorcisms more unrealistic than a fucking goat-headed demon for some reason. I don't know why. I guess I don't know. I don't know why.
No, I mean, regardless of why, if you don't first subscribe to what I'm saying, yeah, you're gonna have a hard time answering my question. So I get it.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just don't buy that something could exist outside of a physical form on that level, you know, if that makes sense. Like, it has to be some kind of flesh. I don't know.
I mean, wait. But what about ghosts then?
I don't believe in ghosts.
Oh yeah, you've said this before. I can't believe we're doing a whole episode on ghosts and you don't believe in ghosts. Well, not a whole episode, but you feel what I'm saying. This is kind of a ghost expert guy, and we're doing this, and you're like, ghosts, fucking, they're fuckery.
Well, because it's interesting. You know what I'm saying?
No, I get that. It's cool. I like the second story a lot. What else you got?
Okay, so I want to mix it up a little bit and talk about something I think we've mentioned in passing before, but this is a more detailed account. So this is called The Black Coach of Santa Ynez. So Richard Sennett, actually met at a tavern in Los Olivos, north of Santa Barbara, with a couple named Terry and Bob H. So they're saying they're kind of spooked. He was saying that they were within 20 feet of this ghostly apparition, I guess you could say. He said that it was really, really silent, that it was absolutely silent when they saw it. They were just outside of Santa Ynez going towards Solvang, and they got a flat on their Volvo. It was probably 8 or 8:30, he says, and he was changing the tire because there was still a little bit of light. He had the car on the jack, and Terry, his wife, saw it first. So she describes it as being a black cloud coming towards them, that it was moving fast. And he walked over to her and he saw it too. It was coming parallel to the road. He says it looked like an old coach pulled by 4 horses, all black. There was a guy on top, supposedly a driver, wearing a sort of top hat and a long black coat. Terry says, you know, it wasn't a stagecoach. I've seen stagecoaches at Knott's Berry Farm. This wasn't a stagecoach. And they kind of settle on it's kind of like a carriage. Apparently it had lights on the side, and there was someone inside. Terry said that she saw a woman in a black dress. The woman was probably about 90 years old. She just saw her for a second as it went by. Bob said it was too fast and that he didn't see anything. And remember, this is all dead silent, and then it just slowly vanished into the dark. So he changed the tire and they got back on the highway, and they were really spooked. These two are college grads, professional careers. They'd never experienced anything like this before. And the reason it ended up in the book is because Richard has encountered this a lot. He kind of just explained to them, like, this is a fairly frequent phenomenon, which I didn't really know until I'd read this. So apparently black coaches have been seen for hundreds of years. They're common in Ireland and Great Britain. And then one common feature of it is that it makes no sound, so that you kind of have an idea of, like, this doesn't belong here in our current reality. So there's one legend that says that these ghostly vehicles carry away the souls of the dead, and they are seen when someone has passed away. But one thing that we have talked about on this podcast, I'm sure of it, is called retrocognition. It's kind of like the past intruding into the present. He describes it as a film accidentally replaying at the wrong time. So you get a glimpse of the past. And then there's another theory that says that this is actually from the local Native Americans in the area. They say that this all-black carriage is always driven by a man in a tall black hat, and it's the devil driving, taking the soul of evil people back to hell. So, yeah, I wanted to include that because that was something we talked about before, but I didn't realize it was happening in, like, California. And then the retrocognition thing, I think, is really interesting, you know. What do you think? Do you think it's a ghost? Do you think it's just the past?
I like both. Like, I think... Like, the retrocognition thing is kind of like a glitch in the Matrix kind of thing, and I like that because... I mean, I don't know how much I believe in, like, simulation theory, but I think it's possible, and that would be just one more alleged example of among a lot of examples people mention that prove that there's glitches everywhere and we are in the Matrix. But, like, somehow I actually like the second theory more, that it's just, what is it, like the devil taking, like, souls back to hell, something like that. Yeah, like, I don't know, like, it's spookier, but also just, well, I guess, like, why would the devil, like, make himself be seen by people, like, while he does that, and, like, why do it specifically in a black carriage? Yeah, maybe it makes no sense. Maybe it is just a glitch of, like, a past thing, like, time just, like, warped for a second, and it, like, showed the reality of, like, a summer day in 1770 or something like that. Like, I mean, I guess that's a thing. It kind of connects back to doppelgangers. I don't know if you remember. Some of the like one of the cases I think that it touched on was basically, like, this, like, oh my god, I can't fucking recall. But I feel like you can recall. It was, like, this guy who said that he had... Oh my god, I am so terrible. But it was basically, like, someone who... Oh, yes. Someone who said that they saw themselves doing an action, and then years later, they found themselves doing that action.
Yeah.
Yeah. So... It's not the same, but it is similar in the sense of, like, time can show itself. I mean, according to this theory, time can show itself literally as a physical window, like as physical objects, as physical people for a couple moments sometimes when things get fucked up or mixed up or something. And so that explains why you could see, you know, like, a very solid looking real carriage just fucking, like, run by. And then it's gone. Yeah, I guess.
Well, also it makes me wonder about, like, why specifically there and then? Like, is there, like, hot spots for this kind of activity or glitches? You know what I'm saying? Like, are some places just mysterious like that and they attract it, or is it just a fluke?
I think it's both. Like, I think it just starts as a fluke, but let's say the fluke can repeat itself, and it repeats itself in the same place, kind of like a bad computer bug. It always happens when you open the same program or type in the same command. Like, the same bug always comes up until you fix it. Like, and so it basically starts out as just like a fluke, but since it keeps happening, well, I guess it just keeps happening. I guess it's not both. I guess it is just a fluke, but it keeps happening in the same place, but that doesn't mean it's a hot spot for anything else.
Yeah. Okay, well, I want to talk about another thing that we've kind of touched on in the past and kind of get your opinion on it, because this is kind of me just kind of confirming what I already knew about this in a weird, annoying way. And then I'm going to save the last one, which is the longest one, for last. So I think we'll have time.
Okay.
So this is the Hope Ranch poltergeist. So Mrs. B contacted Richard Sennett from Santa Barbara.
Is this Cardi?
Was Cardi alive in 1986?
Oh, never mind. I thought she was like, oh, Mr. Sennett, listen.
Oh my god, wow. No. So, Mrs. B, she lived in a house in Santa Barbara's Hope Ranch. And she contacted him because she had heard about him through someone or something. And so he goes into their house. It's like a chill place, you know, cozy. They have a seat and they talk about, you know, what's bothering her. So her husband basically thinks that she's going crazy. But she's been seeing things in her house move. So she shows him a figure of a horse that's on one of the bookcases, and she says, like, I saw this float over to the floor by the fireplace. And she says she saw other things move around. A teapot in the kitchen was found on the floor in the corner. A bottle of perfume moved from the bedroom to the hall. Some things had just vanished entirely. And she said that she was hearing some tappings. It was like someone drumming their fingers on a hollow box. And then she said sometimes the walls would shake, like an earthquake, and then stop. But a picture would fall from the wall, something like that. So, yeah, basic poltergeist activity. So, who lives in the house? So, it's Mrs. B, her husband, and their 2 kids. So, they have a son and a daughter. Both are teenage. The son is outgoing, has a lot of friends, does pretty well. And then he asks about the daughter. So I guess a few weeks ago, the daughter broke up with her boyfriend. And so this is this idea that we've talked about before, that it's poltergeists are just negative energy manifesting in reality. And he says this is very common with adolescents and it's been recorded for thousands of years. Huge objects have been moved around, but mostly people aren't injured by it, and it only lasts for a few weeks. And so he kind of tells her, like, it's going to go away. And that typically with a poltergeist, there's a focus, and typically that focus is an individual. In this case, would be the daughter. And then, you know, and he reassures her, it's like, you're not crazy. And so he leaves, and then a call back after a couple of weeks. Mrs. B said that everything stopped in less than a week. So yeah, I don't know. I like that. I know that you probably don't like that because it's not ghostly.
There wasn't enough blood and death, I'll tell you that. But what I do like is that it kind of goes along with this idea about how you define poltergeist, which is that it's just bad energy. I have a hard time with that. Like, I know that we already mentioned. I asked about this a couple episodes ago, and you cited our poltergeist episode, and you told me I do think that it is just like bad energy. But even then, I wasn't convinced. Like I just what when I look at poltergeist on YouTube, and I see like people who record their kitchens and like shit's flying around the room. If you believe it's real, but if you believe it's real, and that's a poltergeist, like, that doesn't seem like, I don't know, that just feels like there is a literal ghost there just like fucking around with things.
Yeah.
Or rather, maybe I just have a hard time believing that just the nebulous concept of quote unquote like bad energy or like bad juju like can do things like that. I feel like maybe it would. Yeah, I don't think I can do things like that. I don't know.
Well, I think that it might just be a case of mislabeling. Maybe what you're talking about, like the stuff going all crazy all at once, like maybe that is a ghost or a demon or a spirit or something. But when we talk about these minor things, just something's quite off. Things are moving. The picture frame fell again. Like maybe that's just like sudden burst of, you know, bad adolescent energy at once. But I don't know, because poltergeist, like it sounds really cool and it sounds really dark and horrifying, and I think maybe people just took that and they misinterpreted it as something darker related to demons, whereas it's probably just something else in general.
I mean, it's not even that I'm disappointed. It's not really that. I think I just don't really believe in the concept of like you can exert a person can exert enough bad energy that they can literally create basically like a shadow version of themselves. that wreaks havoc because it's
Yeah.
just a ball of emotional pain. Like, I have a hard time believing that can happen. So, I mean, like, I've
'Cause you
seen
don't-
Silent Hill, I get it, but like,
Well,
yeah, I don't think so.
You have issues grappling with, the power of the human mind, which is what we talked about in the psychic episode. Like, it's, or, just all of that. But you're ready for the
I
demons
mean,
to crawl up your ass.
I've like told you, I don't feel like that's unfair or unreasonable. Like, I've told you that I believe in like telekinesis, how do you say that actually? Help,
I
Shannon.
don't know what you're saying. Telepathies? What?
Telekinesis?
Oh, telekinesis? Yeah.
Oh, now you're having trouble. Anyway, I believe that people can move shit with their mind. So it's not like I don't believe at all in the like power of the human mind. I just don't think the human mind can just like create a sad, problematic replica of itself during times of like emotional turmoil. Like, I don't think that's how shit works.
I want to counter that with Shia LaBeouf's most quoted line, "Just do it."
Oh, fuck off. Oh, by the way, new Shia LaBeouf movie that is kind of like autobiographical about his like childhood as a uprising little child star. It's called Honey Boy. It is an amazing movie. It really moves you. Go watch it, everyone.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. But anyway, I guess like for me, it's like you can't destroy matter, but also you can't create matter. So where the fuck is your brain getting the matter to create this, essentially this fucking dark tulpa?
Well, yeah, that's, I guess the same way you poop, you just, you get the intake and then the outtake and...
Oh, you know the four main human excretions: poop, hair, nails, and tulpas.
And bad energy. All right. So I have one more, and I'll try to make it fast. This is titled "Something is Watching Us," which I found funny because everything else is titled like the location. Oh, Richard Sennett. So he was teaching a class called Ghosts and Hauntings when he learned about a haunted bank in Oxnard. Apparently, this phantom had appeared in the building on a certain day of the week with such regularity that the tellers were terminating their employment and leaving. So apparently there were raps being heard, and that means rapping on a wall, not rapping like Eminem. Strange footsteps and screams.
Can you imagine like a ghostly Nicki track or like a ghostly Cardi rap? Just like
that's what's gonna happen when they pass. Like it's gonna
like,
be
can you imagine just like
Hotel.
I don't just like spooky music and then like a faint sound and like you get closer. You're walking down a dark hallway. You like try to get closer to the sound. And closer to the sound, and like it's coming from behind a door on one of the hallway rooms, and like you press your ear against the door, and faintly you can hear, "This dude named Michael used to ride motorcycles." Like I'd fucking run away. Like I'd be freaked, amazed, but also freaked out. I love that. I love that for us. That needs to happen.
The worst, most traumatizing event of your life. Okay, so. This bank is a modern structure, supposedly with no tragedy. It was pretty recently built. He interviewed several of the tellers, and he kind of described them all as having a distinct fear in their eyes and conviction in their tone, so he believed them. He said the ghost was a vague figure without features, just a human form, and they somehow instinctively felt that it was a woman. It appeared to be about 9 feet tall. It moved with a gliding motion over the floor, and it moved with alarming speed. So, the specter would materialize behind the railing next to the counter of the bank, but it wouldn't pass through the railing. It just rose over it and floated on. It seemed active near closing time. They heard loud thumps like someone banging on a hollow log, And they heard these loud footsteps like someone walking on wood, but all the floors in the bank were carpeted. And Sennett said himself that the floor did not seem capable of producing that sound because it seemed to muffle even the stomping of a boot. One of his students noted that one of the air vents on the side of the building kind of created some of the rapping noise, but not all of it. He goes up the stairs and he says that he feels like something's watching him. And he gets to the second floor and he says that he feels a presence. His scalp starts to tingle and he walks into the darkness. So this is interesting. He says it felt like a wall of vibration, like a tingling sensation at like pins and needles. They left the bank and they asked if they could come again next week. So him and his students kind of got into investigating and trying to figure out what was going on. One of the students discovered that there was a 2-story wooden home that had been demolished at that very same location of the bank before the bank was built. So he's trying to say, basically, the 2-story home would have sat a little bit higher on the foundation, about 3 or 4 feet higher. And so that's probably why the ghost seemed to be 9 feet tall, because it was still following the same path of that old house. And then what he said was that the wall of vibration he felt was probably the 2nd story of that farmhouse and could have been the, what would you call it? Like the location of the tragedy, whatever that was. One of the tellers said that she was a longtime resident of Ventura County. She lived not far from the bank, and they interviewed her grandmother. So her grandma said that she remembered a woman had been beaten to death by her husband on that site many decades ago. I don't know if that's the lady. It's kind of unclear, at the end of this investigation, but that's something to think about. So you're not gonna like this, Andre. So
What?
he and his students decided to perform an experiment with a Ouija board at the bank. So
Great.
what they did, he had 10 people between the two of them. So the first group of 5 did a Ouija thing, and then the next night they had the other 5 go, and they did kind of like a masked thing, so neither of them knew what was going to happen or, before or after the events until everything was done. So the first 5 went and they talked to the ghost, and so I have basically the transcription of the question and answers, answers being from the Ouija board. So the first...
Ooh, okay. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, the first group asks, "Are you troubled?" The answer, "Yes." "Is there something we can do for you?" It spells out death, murder. Question, "You were murdered?" "Yes." "What kind of weapon killed you?" "Chain." "Strangled with a chain?" "Yes." "Do you know the name of your murderer?" "Yes." "Can you give us that name?" "No." "Can God help you?" L-U-Z, luz, Spanish for light. I guess over and over again the words death and murder were spelled out in
Wait,
the date
did you say
19...
L-U-V?
L-U-Z as in zoo.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they be able to give the name of their murderer? That's so weird.
Well, this is group 1. So the date 1917 was also consistent. And they asked, "Will you manifest yourself today?" It said yes. So apparently they learned later that one of the tellers who had not been present during the Ouija board experiment saw something white watching her from a 2nd floor window as she left for the day. But they didn't know that yet. So the second seance was held a week later. Not a night, sorry. And this is still blind, so they didn't know what happened in the first session, and no one at the first session was there. So here is the transcription. "What is your first name?" Answer, "Agatha." Question, "Were you killed by a man?" Answer, "No." "What instrument was used to kill you?" "Chain." "Would you give your murderer's first name?" "Helena." "Were you related to Helena?" "No." "Was Helena your husband's mistress?" "Yes." "What year did this murder take place?" 1917. Are there any other spirits here besides you, Agatha? Sometimes. Why are you here? Why do you haunt? No home. Do you seek something here? Revenge. On whom do you wish revenge? Her. Is her spirit here? Yes. Are there two spirits here? Yes. So,
Damn, dude. This is giving me the fucking creeps. So you're telling me that two different groups of people went into a room with a Ouija board and they got basically the exact same answers.
Pretty much.
That's fucking fucked. I want to fucking crawl into bed.
So both sessions mentioned a chain as the murder weapon and the date 1917, but it's unclear as to why they weren't given, the names in the first session. Maybe they weren't comfortable yet. I don't know. And
yeah, maybe she's shy.
Yeah. Sennett says that on the last night when he was leaving the bank, and he said not to take this too seriously, but he was carrying the Ouija board out to his car, and the inverted glass they had been using as the planchette flew from his hand and shattered on the pavement. And he also added that they looked for records of people of the names Helena and Agatha by those names near the bank, and they couldn't find anything. But he also goes on to say that a couple weeks after that, the bank seemed to calm down and there were fewer encounters. So he kind of just ends it on that note of, I don't know, maybe that helped, but I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, whether it helped or not, hopefully it did. But that's honestly irrelevant. Like, to me, the most holy shit. Like, the most impressive part is that I don't know. I've never, read more stuff like that. Like, I mean, maybe there haven't been experiments like that. I think that would help, the legitimacy of the Ouija board as an instrument to communicate with the other realm, a lot, to have things like those experiments be talked about, because that's crazy, right? Because a lot of what you see when you think Ouija boards are people in a room doing the thing, but for all you know, they're all in on it. There's no double check, and this basically acts as a double check, what you talked about. That is bizarre to me. I mean, it's crazy, that. That means it was real. I mean, of course, the guy could also be lying, but right. If he's not, then holy shit.
Well, that's the good thing I like about finding random books in random bookstores. You get better information than just scanning the internet, especially because the reason this probably isn't very well known is it wasn't done in a scientific laboratory under scientific circumstances. It was just a class doing this, they didn't record anything. They just went in, they knew what they were going to do, and they tried it, for the sake of learning. So
that doesn't matter though. As long as he's not lying, yeah. And the groups couldn't hear each other, right? Then there's no fucking way.
Well, I'm not saying that
you know what I mean?
Makes it. Yeah, I'm not saying that means that it wasn't real. I'm saying that's why people don't talk about it. Is because
I see.
It's harder to talk about stuff like that if it's not done like that. So that's kind of why you have to look a little deeper when you're trying to find stuff, and that's kind of why I want to talk about this book, because it's so obscure. It's like $1.60 on Amazon, but you wouldn't think to look for something like this,
Everyone, please go support Richard Sennett and his ghost books. Okay, this was lit. I like that last case a lot. That really creeped me out. That was good.
Yeah, I wanted to save that for last.
Helena, Agatha, all respect to you. I'm knocking on wood. Do not visit me at night. I'm Gucci. I respect you. You'll do your thing. So let's that was good. Let's say good night. Everyone. We have received a couple of suggestions for future episodes, so please do keep those coming. If you have any, you can DM us at Talk Scary on Twitter or at Scary Talk on Facebook. You can also find us on all podcast listening platforms wherever you listen to your pods. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, also. Oh my god, there's a bunch more. We're everywhere. You can find us wherever you want. Shannon, anything else?
I think I've spoken enough.
I think you have. Everyone, give it up for Shannon. She did a good job. You basically like led this whole episode. I was just a commenter. I really liked your cases. Those were really good. So thank you. Everyone, ghosts are real. Don't eat any large meals before bedtime, or a ghost will enter your vagina.
Hey, I did want to just brief with you as we leave the cold, warm, moist area of the anus. How did you enjoy that? Do you think we poked around?
I think we poked around enough. I saw some stuff I don't want to see again. I have no idea what I'm covered in. I mean, I have some idea what I'm covered in, but I don't really want to know. I'm just going to go take a shower. Thank you for going with me, though. It would have went way harder if I went at it alone, so thank you.
Well, we made it out. We made it out together.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Shannon. I really appreciate you going into that asshole with me. And on that note, thank you everyone for listening. Remember, assholes are friends, not foes. And we will talk to you next week. Good night.
The Mothman is real. Goodbye.